topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Experts show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good afternoon, Orlando. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show, where we bring you top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Oh, do we have a great show for you today? We have been inundated by your questions. This is a very hot topic, community association. And of course, we've got the top law firm in the state of Florida, K. Bender Rimbaum, their community association attorneys, and we have one of their finest attorneys. As you know, we have Alan Swartzside is usually here with us. Well, he's changed up a little bit. Let me introduce you to Kirsten Henza.
Hello, Steve.
You don't look like Alan.
I do not. And I'm presently freezing in my office. It's a freezer here, so hence the blanket or the shawl.
Oh, Kirsten, I got to tell you, I've been doing this for 12 years. I have never seen the amount of communications come in over a lot of these new laws. So Kirsten had a great idea. And what we're going to do on today's show, a little bit different. Actually, I'm turning the show over to Kirsten for about the first 30, 40 minutes. And she is going to explain a lot of these laws to you. We've got a ton of questions here also we're going to try to get to. Don't bother to call in today. We're not going to be answering the phone. We've got so much to go over. Kirsten, we're so glad we've got you, and just have that. First, tell everybody about K. Bender Rimbaum.
Sure. K. Bender Rimbaum is a full-service community association law firm. We represent homeowners associations, condominiums, and co-ops throughout the state of Florida. Our main office is located in Pompano Beach, Florida, which is in South Florida, but we have multiple locations throughout the state, including Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, which is managed by my colleague Alan, and then I manage the West Coast office for the firm, which is located here in Tampa. But again, we represent clients pretty much throughout the entire state of Florida.
It's one of the, a lot of firms on their shingle shows them covering different areas of law, but you mainly do community association law.
Yes, and I think that sets us apart from a lot of the firms that sort of dabble in this area of the law. This is our one and only practice area. It is our specialty. That is all we do 24/7. So, whereas other firms, might have community association law as, a side practice. This is our full-time practice. So,
Kirsten, I always want to thank you because you're one of the biggest firms in the state of Florida, but education is so important to K. Bender Rimbaum. You have so many classes, free classes that you offer, and then you do shows like this every month. Hats off to K. Bender Rimbaum. It's incredible how you go about educating people.
Yes, Steve, we do a lot of free education for board members and managers. The law is just it's too complicated even for attorneys to decipher, and so we try to take the law and simplify it and educate board members and certainly managers. It's a lot of hard work, and we take a lot of time to prepare these courses, prepare the webinars, the seminars. So definitely encourage listeners, board members to go on our firm website and just check out the calendar. Every month we post new classes. So
we'll be talking about
shortage of classes.
We'll be talking about those classes later on in the show. Well, the governor has signed off on a lot of laws, Kirsten, and thank God we've got you here to explain it all to everybody. Have at it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, a lot of questions that came from listeners in the last few days had to do with the new legislation. So figured might be a good opportunity to just touch on some of the more, they're all important, right? But some of the ones that stand out the most that affect sort of the day-to-day operations of both condominium and HOAs. So let's start quickly with the condominium bill, which was House Bill 1021. So it became effective July 1st. So the first changes have to do with the official records, primarily the definition, I guess, if you will, of the official records now includes documents such as invoices, receipts, deposit slips, payment records, building permits, and then board member education certificates. Certainly, these are all records of the day-to-day operations of the association, and should have been kept as part of the official records, but now the statute codifies these documents as being part of the official records. If any official record is lost or destroyed or is unavailable, the statute now creates an obligation on the board to make a good faith effort to obtain and retrieve these documents. If an owner makes a request for inspection of association records in response to the owner, the association now has an obligation to simultaneously provide a checklist identifying all the records that will be made available on the date of the inspection. The checklist also now has to identify the records that will not be made part of the inspection. The checklist has to be also kept as part of the official records for at least 7 years. There are now enhanced penalties for willful and repeated violations of board members who fail to provide access to records. Now, this does not pertain to the a board member or board of directors that is negligent in providing access to records. It has to be a willful and intentional act. So what the statute provides is that if a director now knowingly, willfully, and repeatedly fails to provide access to the official records, then the director commits a misdemeanor in the second degree. And a misdemeanor in the second degree carries a penalty of $500 fine or imprisonment not to exceed 60 days. But again, it has to be an intentional act. And repeatedly is defined in the statute to mean 2 or more violations in a 12-month period. Okay. Website requirements. So both the for condominiums and HOAs, there are new website requirements for condominiums. As it currently stands, if you operate a condominium with 150 units, you have to, or you have been, you've had this obligation to maintain a website. That threshold now is going to be, it has been reduced to 25 units. Whoa. and this requirement will go into effect January 1st. So by January 1st of 2026, if you're a condominium association that operates a condominium with at least 25 units, you now will have an obligation to maintain a website. And then the records that you're required to maintain on the website are all listed in the new statute. Not that much different from the records that you have to keep as part of your official records. Let's see. If for condominium associations, if the board is going to be approving a contract, and as you know, Steve, we're seeing a lot of board members, lately, and certainly going into the fall, having a lot of board meetings, adopting all these contracts, as a result of the milestone inspection and the SIRS. So if the board is going to be adopting a contract, a copy of the contract now has to be attached to the agenda and the notice of the meeting at which the board will be approving that contract. For condominiums with more than 10 units, the board must now hold quarterly meetings. Okay, so at least one meeting per quarter. You can't get away with just having one meeting a year anymore. And then at least 4 times a year, the notice and the agenda has to provide opportunity for owners to ask questions. So an agenda item has to be has to allow owners to ask questions. And really anything relating to association operation, but certainly regarding status of construction projects and then revenues and expenses of the current fiscal year. The statute doesn't say if the opportunity to ask questions has to be done per quarter, just 4 times a year. There's also no obligation in the statute for the association to answer those questions. All they have to do is, as of now, just provide the opportunity for owners to ask questions. Now, board member certification classes. Those requirements also changed for condominium and HOA boards. It used to be that if you were elected or appointed to the board within 90 days of your election or appointment, you had the option to do one of 2 things. You could certify by signing a certificate certifying that you have read your governing documents and would uphold them to the best of your ability, or you could attend a division approved board certification classes. Many firms, including ours, we provide these board certification classes. Well, now the requirement has changed effective July 1st. Now a condominium board has to do both. You have to sign a certificate certifying you've read the governing documents, and hopefully you've done that. And then you also have to attend a division-approved board certification class. And this is all within 90 days of being elected or appointed. Now, the initial class for condominium associations has to be at least 4 hours long. So typically board certification classes, at least the ones we teach, have lasted maybe 2 hours. Now the division is requiring that class to be 4 hours, and it has to cover specific topics, including but not limited to the SIRS requirement and the milestone inspection, elections, inspection of records, and other topics. Now, once you've done your initial 4-hour course, board member or director has an annual requirement to do at least 1 hour of continuing education, primarily having to do with changes in the Florida statute. So 4 hours initial class, and then at least 1 hour of continuing education annually. Both
Kirsten,
certificates,
excuse me, just 1 second. We just had someone write in about where do you get the certificate to sign?
The certificate, the division, I believe, provides a certificate, but certainly our office also provides, can make that available as well.
Okay.
Both certificates are valid for 7 years, as long as the director serves uninterrupted. And then if a board member, if a director was elected before July 1st of 2024, the director still has to comply with these new requirements, but they have until June 30th of 2025. So new board members would be complying with this within 90 days of being elected or appointed. Those that were elected prior to July 1st of 2024 have about another year to comply with these requirements. And then another change in the statute, which applies to most condominiums, is that boards of residential and mixed-use condominiums have to adopt hurricane protection specifications with regard to color, style, material, and then any other factors deemed relevant to the board. So that's it as far as the major changes to the condominium statute. This is only, again, just a handful of important legislation. It's not intended to be a substitute for, a more in-depth legal update, and we certainly provide those. So check our website for dates and times of upcoming classes on the legal update.
Let's go to your classes that are coming up.
Sure. Let's see. So we have some classes coming up in August. I can't believe it's already the end of July. So the first class we have is on August 8th, and it's taught by Jeffrey Rembaum, one of our senior partners, and it has to do with updating the governing documents. This couldn't be a more perfect time to attend this class. Now more than ever, you want to have a conversation with your board members and certainly your legal counsel as to whether or not you should be undertaking any amendments to your governing documents in light of the new legislation. So definitely encourage and recommend listeners to attend that one. Again, August 8th, 1:30 to 2:30. We have a legal update, actually taught by Alan Schwartzide. This one, though, covers the changes that went into effect in July of 2023. There's a lot of property managers that are trying to get their credits before the reporting cycle ends in September, and so this is one of those classes that they have to do. We do touch on the major changes to the SIRS and milestone inspection requirements. So if you haven't taken that class, definitely it's a good one. If you can't make the August 8th class on updating the governing documents, we're certainly offering another webinar on this, August 22nd from 12 to 1. August 23rd, we have a class on navigating the Fair Housing Act, and this one's going to pertain specifically to assistance animals. So will be a discussion of assistance, service animals, and then pets. Our first 4-hour condominium board certification class will be taught by Michael Bender, another senior partner of the firm. This will be on September 5th. And then we have a covenant enforcement class for HOAs and condominiums September 10th, which will be taught by Alan Schwartzide. And that's going to go over basically the remedies and enforcement options of both condominiums and HOAs.
That's it?
That's it for August so far.
Okay. I know you'll have more. We're going to go to break, and let's give everybody, is there a main number they can call for any of your offices?
Yes, the main number is 954-928-0680. It is the number to the Pompano office, but our receptionist can switch you to really any office. So just let them know the attorney you're looking to speak to, and with the switch of a button, you'll be redirected.
And the website is kbrlegal.com. It's www.kbrlegal.com. We're going to go to break. We come back. We have more with Kay Bender Rimbaum and Kirsten Hinza. We'll be right back.
Kay Bender Rimbaum is a full-service community association law firm dedicated to the representation of community associations throughout Florida. On kbrlegal.com, you can learn more about their offices in Pompano Beach, Palm Beach Gardens, Orlando, Tampa, as well as throughout Miami-Dade by appointment. Several Kay Bender Rimbaum attorneys are board-certified specialists in condominium and plan development law and assist clients with all matters of community association legal issues while keeping them up to date on new developments that affect their associations. Kay Bender Rimbaum is also a well-known provider of free legal education for managers and board members. Contact Kay Bender Rimbaum today by calling 800-974-0680. That's 800-974-0680 to reach any of their locations. You can also visit them online at kbrlegal.com or write to them at info@kbrlegal.com.
And we are back with the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV with your hosts, Steve-O, Sophia, and their expert guests.
We are back. This is the Ask the Expert show. We are with you every Thursday from, this is Eastern time, 5 to 5:50. This is the last Thursday of the month, so that means Tampa. This is our Tampa show. In fact, tomorrow will be our South Florida show, back-to-back shows. We have Kirsten Hinza, and she has been explaining for the last 30 minutes about these new laws that have taken effect, and there are a lot of them. We have had so many people write us questions. This is without a doubt our most popular show. People get very involved with this show. I guess let's go to the questions now. And I just noticed that a lot of the questions coming in, we've been asking you to let us know if you're an HOA or a condo. And I think we're getting everybody to give us whether an HOA or condo. So let's go to Monte. This is an HOA, Kirsten. On the website, what documents go on front page open to the public, and what documents go on the members only sign in the portal protected area?
Sure. So the documents that should not be made accessible to owners would be documents that are protected by attorney-client privilege. So certainly any written communication between the board and legal counsel should not be posted on the main website. And then primarily, records that pertain to, any sale or lease approval. So any information, if you're an association that is allowed to approve or disapprove, sales, leases, and you obtain information regarding the applicant through background checks, or if you've done a criminal or financial background check and you've obtained reports, certainly social security numbers, phone numbers, none of those records are accessible to either the unit owner who's selling or leasing, and certainly not to any other unit owner or homeowner. We haven't done also the legal update for the HOA, Steve. So I don't know if you want me to just quickly go over those. I don't want to leave the HOA listeners in limbo here.
No, let's do that.
Okay, so let me just quickly go through House Bill 1203, which affects homeowners associations. So just like with condominiums, there is a new website requirement. This one is going to go into effect January 1st of 2025. So HOAs have a little bit less time than condominium associations to get this going. So if you're an HOA that operates or governs a community with 100 parcels or more, then by January 1st of 2021, you have to have a website. And the statute also lists the types of documents that you need to make accessible through your website. If you get a subpoena from law enforcement, you are required to either provide copies of the requested records or access to the official records within 5 business days of receiving the subpoena. Communities with 1,000 or more parcels, regardless of the annual revenue of the association, now are required to obtain an audit. So with financial reporting requirements, the level of financial report depends on the annual revenue of the association. So for most communities, if your annual revenue is at least $500,000 or more, then you are required to do an audit, unless your bylaws require you to do an audit. But now the law requires that it doesn't matter what your revenue is, as long as you're a community that has 1,000 parcels or more, you're now required to do an audit. Now, HOAs boards are allowed to prepare a financial report that is less than what you're required to do under the statute, provided you get membership approval. Well, the statute has now changed to say that, well, you can prepare a lesser financial report, you just can't do the lesser financial report for consecutive years. Okay. Another change, the HOA statute now expressly prohibits the use of debit cards, which has been the law for condominium associations. With regard to board member certification requirements, also new changes for HOAs. Again, HOA boards used to be able to do one of the two, either sign a certificate or attend a division-approved course. Now board members in an HOA are required to attend a division-approved board certification class within 90 days of being appointed or elected to the board. There is no minimum hourly requirement for that initial board member certification class, but it does have to be redone or retaken every 4 years. And then the certificate will be valid for 4 years and has to be kept as part of the official records of the association for 5 years. Now, in addition to the initial board member certification class, if you are in an HOA that governs less than 2,500 parcels, director has an additional 4-hour requirement of continuing education to do annually. And then if your community if your association operates in communities with more than 2,500 parcels, then your annual continuing education requirement goes up to 8 hours. So it's 4 and 8, depending if your community with less than 2,500 parcels or more. Now, among the requirements or covenants or rules that the association and HOA association cannot enforce include any requirements having to do with interior changes to the lot that are not visible from the exterior or an adjacent lot or the common areas or a golf course. So if an owner wants to redo their kitchen or do any other kind of improvement or alteration inside the lot, the association can no longer require them to submit an ARC request form or require them to get approval, as long as the change is not visible from the exterior. While, for most HOA associations that govern communities with single-family lots, that's not a big deal. But there are communities in Florida that are townhomes and are governed under Chapter 720. So, of course, the statute doesn't address those types of communities, which, as you know, townhomes, they do share walls and they do share roofs. And so we'll see if there are any changes next year addressing those particular types of communities. An HOA association also cannot require approval, ARC approval for HVAC system replacement, as long as it's not visible from the exterior of the lot and as long as the system is substantially similar to one that the association has approved in the past. The new statute also criminalizes certain conduct, such as receiving kickbacks, which subjects directors to imprisonment and fines.
Whoa.
A big hot topic change in the law is that now the statute says an association cannot prohibit the parking of personal vehicles, which include pickup trucks in driveways or any other areas where the individual has the right to park. Which, as you may know, Steve, there are a lot of community associations that expressly prohibit the parking of trucks and then the parking of commercial vehicles. So another change to the statute is that associations can't prohibit owners, tenants, or guests or their invitees from bringing or parking a work vehicle that does not constitute a commercial vehicle. Now, there is a Florida statute that defines what is a commercial vehicle. And it's not a vehicle that just, has, signage on the exterior, Joe's Plumbing, or one that has a visible equipment or tools. A commercial vehicle, and I'm simplifying, but it's one that exceeds, I believe, 26,001 pounds or has 3 or more axles. So that's what the statute classifies as a commercial vehicle. The Joe's Plumbing truck does, unless it exceeds this weight or the number of axles, would not classify as a commercial vehicle. So you would not be able to prohibit Joe's Plumbing truck from parking pursuant to the statute. Let's see. The HOA also cannot prohibit contractors from entering or from doing any work on a parcel, which contractor is not on the preferred vendor list of the association. So, many associations have a list of who they prefer to work in the community. So, no longer can prohibit those contractors or require them to provide proof of license. Now, there is another House Bill 293. That one became effective May 28th of 2024. And that one has to do with hurricane protection specs. An association has to adopt hurricane protection specifications as to color, style, materials. And hurricane protection is defined in that bill and includes basically your roof system, your shutters, your impact windows, doors, and other similar structures needed for hurricane protection. So if you're an HOA and you haven't adopted these hurricane protection specs, you must do so. And then, as I tell clients, if the board meeting at which these specs are adopted, it's not just a 48-hour notice. Notice of that meeting should be mailed out to the owners at least 14 days in advance. And then once the board adopts these specs, a copy of the specs should be provided to all the owners in order for these specifications to go into effect. There were also some changes having to do with fines. Let's see, an association, an HOA association can no longer, you can't levy a fine for leaving your garbage cans out within 24 hours before or after the designated garbage pickup day. And you also can't levy a fine against an owner for leaving holiday decorations or lights up unless they have not been removed after 1 week after the association has provided the owner with written notice of the violation. There were some changes to the fining procedure. The fundamental process hasn't really changed. It still is a two-step process where the board adopts the fine at a board meeting, and then there has to be a fining committee that ratifies the imposition of the fine. That hasn't changed. However, now that committee hearing has to be held within 90 days of providing the owner with notice of the committee hearing. And just as a reminder, that notice has to be mailed out at least 14 days before the scheduled committee hearing. But now that hearing has to be held within 90 days of sending the notice. You cannot collect a fine if the violation is remedied within the time frame provided in the notice or before the hearing. And then the association also has to furnish the violator the committee findings within 7 days of the hearing.
Kirsten, we got a viewer who said, I heard HOAs are no longer allowed to fine owners. Is this true for condos?
No, that has not been the fining process, or the ability for associations to fine has not been eliminated for condominium associations.
Okay.
So that's a misconception. Mm-hmm. So that's it for the I guess the major HOA legislative changes.
What's your favorite?
Well, I think what is getting communities in uproar are the changes affecting the substantive changes, such as, you can't park or the association can't prohibit an owner from parking a work vehicle. And I just want to clarify this. So this has to do with Kaufman, which probably a lot of your viewers have heard that term being thrown around a lot lately. And Kaufman
Yes.
has to do with those magic words as amended from time to time after reference to 718 or 720 in a declaration. So you might have a declaration that says that the condominium or the community association is subject to 718 or 720 as amended from time to time. What that means is that any substantive changes to the statute will apply retroactively to the community without the association having to amend the governing documents. Okay, so a lot of these substantive changes, if you have Kaufman language in your declaration, will apply to your community. Now, for those associations or communities that don't have this amended from time to time language, the constitutional argument is that these substantive changes do not apply retroactively to them. Rather, the law that applies is the law that was in effect when the original declaration was recorded. This is a very complex area of the law, and I'm absolutely simplifying it here, but the main takeaway here is get with your legal counsel, review your governing documents, see if you have Kaplan language, and then have a discussion of how these legislative changes apply to your community and what, if anything, you need or should amend to protect the interests of the association.
Okay. We just got a text in. Love your show. I never miss one. That's nice. Thank you. We appreciate that. I am thinking about running for a board member. Does it take up a lot of time and effort?
Well, I mean, tough times to become a board member. But you know what? That's wonderful that someone is still willing to volunteer in light of, all these criminal penalties that legislature has imposed. Does it take a lot of time? Well, I mean, I think it's one of those it depends answers. I mean, certainly if you have management to assist with the day-to-day management and operations, that might be helpful. But it a lot of depends, are you in a condominium? Are you in an HOA? What is the current state of affairs? Are you required to do a SIRS or a milestone inspection? What is your, the financial health of your community? So it really depends.
What's a good background to have if you want to run for a board member?
I mean, I think, honestly, even if you're being a mom, I think is a very good requirement.
Oh,
I mean, or a parent as a general, I mean, you're handling, the day-to-day housework, the children, the,
yes.
Work responsibilities. So honestly, I think if you have a job, if you're a parent, I think you're more than qualified.
Okay. Let's pick up some of these questions. Here's Gene. New laws require many documents to be on a website. I have two issues. First, can an owner still request hard copy? Second, how do we stop an association from saying, well, it's on our website, you go find it?
Yes, and I mean, even if certain documents are on a website, an owner from both condominium and HOA, for condo and HOA associations, are still entitled to request access to the official records and see them. Now, the condominium statute has been amended to now say that if the document requested by the owner is on the website, that could satisfy the obligation of the association relative to that inspection request. There's no similar language for HOAs, so I would say if an owner's making a request to inspect association records, that you allow that inspection even if that document's already posted on the website.
Okay. What about viewer wants to know, are those fining committees for condos as well?
Yes. The requirement to have a fining committee is both for condominiums and HOAs, as well as the requirement to provide owner of the fining committee hearing. You have to provide the owner with, or the violator, at least 14-day notice. So that's also a requirement for both condos and HOAs.
Okay. Jordan wants to know, if an owner requested to see documents that a public insurance adjuster submitted to the condominium's insurance company, would the condo association be required to comply with that request?
I would think so. I don't see anything about that document being exempt from inspection, certainly not protected by attorney-client privilege. It would seem just, another record that is relative to association operations. So should be maintained as part of the official records, and certainly if a owner requests or makes a proper written request for inspection, that it should be made accessible.
Rex once, he said, I heard Bill 59 passed. I heard it goes into effect October 1st. Does it say physical or digital rules have to go to everyone in the association, condo, and HOA? Does that include if the rules are amended, the association has to supply everyone with the amended?
So House Bill 59, it's effective July 1st of 2024, but the compliance has to be done before October 1st of 2024. Okay, so it's not that it goes into effect then. It's already in effect. The association just has to comply with it before October 1st of 2024. And what it essentially provides is that the association has to provide physical or digital copy of the association rules and covenants to every member. And yes, if there have been amendments to the rules or the covenants, then you are required to also provide a copy of the amended rules and covenants to all the owners. And the requirement can be met by posting a copy of the rules and covenants on a direct link or on the homepage of the association's website if the website is accessible. But then if you are providing copies of the rules and covenants by posting on the website, then you are required to notify owners that you're meeting this requirement by posting the documents. And that notice has to be provided to the owners either by email to those owners who have consented to receiving official notices by email, or it has to be mailed.
Well, believe it or not, we have run out of time. We've got so many questions asked. I'll tell you what, if you'd like tomorrow at 5 o'clock, you can tune in for our South Florida show. We'll probably get to more questions then. Kirsten, what a great job you did. Let's give everybody the phone number again and website address.
Yes, the phone number, the main phone number is 954-928-0680. And the firm's website is kbrlegal.com.
Great job. We will see you again next month. And tune in tomorrow, 5 o'clock, for our K. Bender Rimbaum show. And we'll see you all next week also. Take care. Thanks again, Kirsten. Great job.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks, everyone, for listening.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.